282. When my husband orders a Coke, I'll order a Pepsi, just to annoy him.
256. When I write an email with some really big hard-to-spell words like Czechoslovakia or bourgeoisie, I'll of course run the spell checker. But sometimes I'll go back and purposely make a simple typo, like putting in TOS for 2. That way the person reading the email will think I didn't actually run the spell checker and I must therefore really know how to spell those big words.
353. She laughs too hard at my humor, not because I'm that funny, but because she wants something from me. She wants me to marry her.
286. I had a younger brother. He died in a car accident when he was 5. Ever since, I wasn't allowed to mention his name or my father would scowl at me and my mother would go running hysterically from the room. And all these years later, my mother still never mentions my brother. But she always calls me on June 13th, just to see how I'm doing. I know why she calls on this day. She probably thinks I have long since forgotten his birthday, but she is wrong. This is a secret we keep from each other, yet we both know. By the way, his name was Alex.
253. My husband once came home from the office and when he took his suit jacket off, there was a yellow post-it note stuck on his back. On it someone had written "Jackass." I quietly pulled it off and didn't tell him anything about it.
375. I know a secret about my husband. He is a grumpy old tough guy. He works in a garage as a mechanic. He comes home in his same foul overalls every day, smelling of oil and cigars. He never says please or thank you. He never opens the door for me. He won't take the time to be cordial to my friends when they call or come over. And on the weekends when he goes out hunting with his buddies, or to the track, or to the tavern to watch silly football games, he'll never call to tell me when he's coming home. He is every bit a man's man. But about a year ago, his dog, a mutt of course, got into my closet and attacked my childhood teddy bear. Tore off the arms and the buttons and pulled out the stuffing. I was devastated. I had that bear since I was 3 years old. I ran into the bedroom, crying myself to sleep. Hours later when I woke up, my teddy bear was sitting there on the pillow next to me. The stuffing had been replaced. The arms and buttons neatly sewn back on. And there was a note in my husband's sloppy handwriting simply saying, "Sorry. I know a secret about my tough guy husband. He is the kindest, most caring person in the world. And I love him."
390. I'm a waitress and I never add up the customer's bill correctly. I just fake it and put down something that looks reasonable. Like, do you really think I know how to calculate 8.37% of the total as tax? Oh please. If I could do math like that, would I be in this crappy waitressing job?
395. At church, I always watch to see how much money my neighbors put in the collection plate. 422. I lie to my therapist. I tell her made-up stories of things that happened to me. I like to see the look of concern on her face. I know it doesn't get me anywhere treatment-wise, to make these things up. But I want her to think I'm the most interesting patient. I want to be the winner.
423. My husband cries a lot. He thinks I don't know, but I do. Sometimes I hear him in the bathroom or down in the basement. Or sometimes he takes these long walks, and when he comes back, his eyes are all red. I don't know what is upsetting him. I'm afraid to ask. I'm afraid to know the reason.
447. I think I died when I was 12. There was this electric fan on the bathroom shelf. I was in the tub. I reached up for a towel, but knocked the fan off. And all this I'm feeling now, all this I'm experiencing, I think it is all a flash forward of the life that could have been. I think this is a dream rushing through my head in the final 5 seconds of my 12-year-old life.
493. When I was in college, I had a student job in the neuroscience department where I was responsible for feeding and cleaning up after the experimentation animals, mostly turtles. Each semester they would get a new batch of about 100 turtles. The grad students would then implant electrodes in the turtle's brain and do all sorts of experiments. Once the turtle had the electrodes implanted, it would live for maybe a few days. Then on to the next turtle. That's why they kept needing to replenish the supply. As the caretaker, I told the professor in charge that about 20 turtles each semester just died on their own in the big holding tank in the basement. But the truth is, every time I came to feed the turtles, I would sneak one out of the building and set him free. They never found out.
524. F31. I share an office with this guy. When his wife calls and I pick up, I listen extra closely to everything she says. I'm trying to figure out if she knows.
556. Every time I buy a new suit, I think to myself that this might be the suit they bury me in. 565. I am trying to make connections all over the world so that someday I can rule the entire planet.
629. I have used my best friend's vibrator.
670. Everyone raved at the truly inspired and marvelously witty speech I gave at my best friend's wedding. The truth of the matter is I bought the speech off the internet the night before for $19.95.
685. I once peed in a department store changing room. It was such an emergency, and I couldn't find the store bathroom anywhere. Why do they always hide them away? But I saw the changing room, and I went for it. Sorry everyone.
696. I had sex with another man all over my house. Every time I look at my bed, couch, kitchen counter, I feel guilty.
705. I'm a little sad about Pluto no longer being a planet.
706. I keep $10,000 in a safety deposit box. It was something I learned as a kid from watching the TV show Mannix. You never know when you might get caught committing a serious crime and have to make a run for it. Most criminals never think that far ahead, so they never have enough money to successfully flee. But not me, because I've got that $10,000. The really silly part is, I'm not a criminal at all. I'm a dentist. I'll never be running from the law. Ever. But having that money squirreled away makes me feel somehow dangerous. I like it.
738. I had a paper route when I was 12. There was this one old man in particular I delivered to. He lived alone, and every day as I brought the paper up to his front door, he would come out to greet me. We'd stand there for a few minutes and he'd ask me about school and girls and things. And he'd tell me about his adventures as a soldier in World War II, showing me his left hand with only 3 fingers, the other 2 were blown off by a mortar shell. As I left him there each afternoon, he would wave goodbye with that mangled hand and say, "Rally round the flag, my friend, rally round the flag." About a year after I stopped delivering papers, I heard he died. There was no wait for him, but the priest at my church did arrange for a funeral. I remember the owner of the hardware store was there. And another older fellow wearing a military uniform. And then there was me. Nobody knows this, but here it is 30-odd years later. And on each Veterans Day, I always take time out to place a small American flag on his grave and whisper, "Rally round the flag, my friend, rally round the flag."
753. I tell my husband it's caffeinated, but I'm lying. I don't want to encourage him to be awake at night, if you know what I mean.
773. I wash darks with whites when my wife's not home.
818. When I was a kid, my mother once made me sneak my overdue library books back onto the library shelves. Then she marched up to the front desk and made a fuss about an overdue notice she received in the mail. She insisted the books had already been returned. Sure enough, the librarian checked and magically the books were right there on the shelves where they were supposed to be. All that devious behavior just to save $1 in fines.
819. I had my clitoris pierced, hoping it would make me sexy and more appealing. It has been 7 months and aside from the guy at the tattoo parlor, no one has ever seen it. Guess it's not working.